Hello everybody, I've just come up to a place called Denton. I've just been struck by like real feeling of deep sadness for what occurred here. It's really tragic when I think about it. This is one of the sites where like the end of England occurred, and there's just no sign of it now. Nothing, just razed. R-A-Z-E-D means sort of burnt to nothing, razed to the ground. And my God, this place will have succumbed to that during the raids of William the Bastard, and we will call him the Bastard in this one because that is exactly what he was. We certainly won't call him William the Conqueror or William of England, just the Bastard. We'll stick with that. But this place here, I don't know if you can sort of see, it's really hard to depict anything on a iPhone. Should probably get a drone and all that kind of stuff. But I'm standing on the top of a hill fort area that is very, very visible and clear to see on Google Earth and on even on just sort of like Google Maps. You can still see that there was a massive ring fort here. You can still see the sort of shading for a part of the ring ditch, and I've got some really great old maps that show us these ring walls in place. And not for this particular one, but for over at Ringmer and a few other places, but it gives you an idea of exactly what we've been here to. And the markings are left even over on those sites. But the reason that I know that this is a really important site is because this is in a charter of Beowulf. There's a charter that I've included right at the end of my book. I think perhaps I should have put it in earlier, but it's like a whole connection to these places. So it's a charter with Beowulf, and it talks about Denton and Beddingham and Cloves Ham. So this is the first time that we see Clove Show, an old Anglo-Saxon meeting place that's been lost, which was Hamsey Church, and Ham connected together. It's the only time that cross connection comes, and it instead of Clove Show or Ham, it becomes Cloves Ham. But then they're talking about Denton here, Beddingham, which is further up that way, and Beowulf, who I'm saying was Beowulf. This is like, but these are all. This is all about it's to do with the church, and they have the whole thing is about like a land dispute basically. But all of these areas were owned by King Offa, and it's called his own inheritance. So people have said, oh, because they found a queen in Beddingham, that's probably why it's connected to Offa. No, it's recorded in charters that Denton and Beddingham were Offa's own inheritance. Alfred then took them on later down the line, King Alfred, who I'm also saying is Haithsin within the Beowulf manuscript. People just haven't connected this up. And he then passes it to Earl Godwin, who is Harold Godwinson's father, who fought in the Battle of Hastings, which I think actually happened. I'm sure there was a battle in Hastings, but I think that the main battle happened up near Heathfield, Halland, Heathfield. That's where the main sort of Anglo-Saxon English encampment were, and there's all this documentation that sort of tells us that it probably did happen up there. And then in fact, I think it was in Old Heathfield Safari Park is what it used to be randomly, and it became the Safari Park. I've got the appropriate noun. But anyway, yeah, right here, William the Conqueror would have come in here because the sea would have been way further in, which is why this place was so important. But you can still see it, it's just there. But yeah, you can also see the river coming in, I think. That's like a lagoon for it over there. But yeah, that would have been further towards here, and it would probably have been a port down where the buildings are now. And that is the reason that this place would have been so important. You would have had sea access, and it would have been a seaport. And then we've got all these documents that state that all these buildings, these important sites were there in the time of Beowulf, and that there's nothing here now other than these geophysical markings. But it's tragic that not only have we lost the country here, like literally, because it wouldn't have just been Hastings. Like all the main port towns would have needed to have been taken in order to control the coast. And this is the southern coast. This is the main southern coast. This is like the most important area. And then we have to think about the London to Lewes road, or the Lewes to London road, Roman road, which would have been critical. And that's where all these battle sites seem to have, or battle names anyway. Everyone seems to, all modern archaeologists. I'm starting to think that maybe they're ignorant. Either ignorant is probably the right word. They're just learning things from textbooks that they've been taught. They're not exploring any possibility. All the battle site names have been placed in the craziest places in the country that have no connection to the East Sussex and Wessex kings and Kent kings. And they're like, yeah, well, it must be up there then. It's like, no, there's one here. There's a Denton here. There's a Beddingham here. There's a Ringmere here. There's an Ashdown Forest here. And all of these places are places that we know held battles. Some of them are even documented battle names. And then we have Terrible Down, another one. These are all on this same road on the way up to London, and yet somebody seems to have changed it all to elsewhere within the country for no apparent reason. But what we can see here is just like vast amounts of rubble, flint and chalk. But right where I'm standing was like the end of England, and I don't think even any archaeology has been done up here, and I've got to ask why. You know, this is going to be one of the most important sites in the entire south of England for giving us information about that period, that crossover period from 825 up to 1066. And then it seems like this place was sacked sometime after that and razed. I mean, like literally erased. You know, it's gone. But there is all of the geophysical markers you could ever want to see, and documentary evidence to tell us that this place was an incredibly important hill. The main town's so far away over there now. Why hasn't there been any archaeology done up here? Why aren't we learning about what happened at that time? Why are Lewis archaeologists constantly putting off digs and not really doing anything? They always say lack of funding. I'd love to have a look at their accounts. Like, it's all a bit strange to me. There's some incredible sites that need to be examined up here, and I imagine that with that erasure and with that warfare that went on up here, quite a lot of stuff's going to have been preserved. I'd say there's things to find here, archaeological discoveries to make. It's a beautiful place as well. But anyway, yeah, Denton, Beddingham, partly the end of England, owned by Offa, King Offa, who apparently just a couple of 100 yards or metres, or probably a bit further up the river, there's Offham, but that has no connection to Offa, even though we have charters stating that he owned all of this. But all the archaeologists will now tell you that no, that's got nothing to do with Offa, that one. There are other places that have no documents that we'll definitely attribute to him. Either there's some vast ignorance going on, or they are purposely obfuscating the truth of the archaeology up this area here, and Beddingham and Ringmere, Lewis itself. I don't even know if the current archaeologists are still trying to imply that the Romans weren't in Lewis. It's just utter nonsense. Like, it was probably one of the most important places. I've been trying to sort of work out. You see, like, there's another place called Portchester further down there, and they've like, yeah, that must have been one of the buildings on the old Roman maps called the Aderni. It's like, are you sure that's not where the Adur River is? A bit further nearer here. Do you not think that the Aderni River might have been the one that went up to Bramber on the Adur? No, it's Portchester, yeah. I mean, I despair. I really do. There's no evidence at all to state that it's in Portchester, and then you have a river with the name of the place. It's kind of tragic. It's like, I do wonder, are they thick? Or are they ignorant and unwilling, or are they just snooty and unwilling to have a look? Because I've written to so many of them now about my Beowulf discoveries, and they're all either completely ignoring me, or they're slowly coming around to it but can't believe how stupid they've been. Like, it's so obvious and there's so much evidence. I just want people to start understanding now how important this area of England is, what occurred here, and who was involved, and the fact that a myth isn't actually a myth. It's a real story, and it's important that archaeologists have got it this wrong, especially when all the evidence is within the text to tell us that they've got it wrong, and then everyone's just gone along with what Tolkien said or what somebody said in the past. It must have happened in southern Sweden. There's literally not a single shred of evidence in the entire text to say that, and that's what they're teaching now. These are like these are Professor Emeritus, tenured professors. and people are paying fortunes to go and learn this stuff from them. Fortunes. And then they get their degree and they think they're really clever, and they're all learning bollocks. Like, quite simply, they're learning a bunch of fallacies that have no basis in reality, and no one seems to have been able to study it enough to see that. I just don't understand. It's like, I'm not. I could get a degree, but it clearly isn't worth it. Like, what's the point if all I'm going to do is just learn a whole load of crap that other people have already learned without making any new progress or discoveries, or just being told that you're wrong constantly based on no evidence, whereas you have evidence to prove you're right? It's very odd. But anyway, look at all my videos, all of my stuff that I've put out there if you want to. Even in my book, I've given you all the evidence. I'm not just like quoting stupid stupid other modern books that don't have any basis in reality. I'm quoting genuine charters and evidence from the actual Beowulf manuscript itself to say that. But here we are, right here, very sadly, at the end of England. Anglo-Saxon England happened right here. Seems like I might be the only one that's aware of this at the moment.